Welcome to a special edition of Relics of War, very similar to a previous intro I did that you guys watching this will not be able to see. I'm joined this week by Malchior Devonholm. How are you doing this week, Mal?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm super excited.
Yes, it's super exciting because we have studio design director from ArenaNet, Chris Whiteside, on the line from us immediately after your Chinese release. Congratulations on that. How are you guys feeling the first few hours in?
Very, very excited. It's great to play with what is now a global community and seeing the world through their eyes. It's all fresh again and new, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm kind of waiting for you, for the listeners that won't have heard this, but I just got pranked with a question by these guys like 2 minutes ago. I'm just waiting for the next prank question for them to put me on the spot. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, apart from that, I'm great. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
And thank you for taking the time to talk to us as well. This is awesome. This has been sort of like...
And thanks for being such a good sport.
Yes.
What goes around comes around.
Oh,
Yes,
no.
sir.
Oh, no. So, to start off with, why don't we just have a few questions sort of about you in general so that people can get to know you better. I know that a lot of times with the internet community, people sometimes have a hard time, like they'll see this name attached to a dev post or something, they'll be like, that man is my nemesis or something, and they have a hard time relating to red names as people. So part of what we're going to open up with is a discussion, is just asking you a few questions about, you know, who you are, both in your life, in games, in-game, that sort of thing, and get people to know who Chris Whiteside is, so that when they see you post, they say, oh, it's that guy, I like him. So
It's that guy, and I still don't like him. I can confirm that I am indeed a person. So that's a good start. So do you want me to talk about that now, or have you guys got some more pranks for me?
I think the pranks are done.
yeah, just
Okay.
go ahead and tell us a little bit about maybe family, education, just some general stuff about yourself leading into
Well,
how
I
you
was
sort of got into games.
educated in the mean streets of England. No, seriously. So how did I get into games? I got into games by doing silly concepts on A3 sheets of paper and sending them off to poor people that had to look at these silly concepts. And I did that for about 2 years, and no one was interested at all. And then all of a sudden, quite a few companies were interested, and I got my first break as a QA technician at Codemasters. And then my second break as a game designer at Codemasters, and did some really fun racing games, and then worked for some other companies, and then found myself in the good old US of A. Worked on Need for Speed and some social media games and so on. And all that time, I was getting home as quick as I could, playing online worlds such as Ultima, EverQuest, World of Warcraft. I've played pretty much everything. Eve, Age of Conan. I just consume. I'm one of those locusts that consumes MMOs. Although I do settle on favorites, and I never really thought, I'd done pretty well with the games I'd done for all the companies I'd worked on, but it was my dream to work with online games. I never really thought I'd get the opportunity, and I did get the opportunity. I got invited to come up and meet the folks at ArenaNet, and they asked me if I would be interested in helping them land the game as the lead producer for Guild Wars 2, and I was like, no, I've never done that before. I'm not going to do that. That's not good for anyone. And they convinced me, and so we did that, and it was fantastic. And now I look after the game design team and the game director group, and everything is roses. And then in terms of, my family are very patient. They've traveled a lot with me, and I think they're really happy here now. And education-wise, not really much to talk about there. Maybe over a drink or something, but yeah, probably not for this conversation.
So you came from, I know everyone usually starts at some level of QA, went up through development design, And then first job, bam, here, why don't you be lead producer for our release? How did that come about? They just contacted you?
Well, so no, it wasn't. It was. So I should give you more information then. I've been in the business for 15 years. So I basically started in QA and then basically went to game design, then became a lead game designer. Then I worked for Acclaim Studios, worked on Extreme G Racing, 2 of those. And then I worked at a company called Big Big and was the lead designer and then game director on Pursuit Force 1 and 2, which was on PSP. Then I came over, worked for EA on Need for Speed. And so, yeah, I've been doing a lot of other games before I got to this one. So really, you know, I went from being a lead designer to a creative director and then design director. And so that's how I learned, you know, best working practices and process for production, how to get, you know, AAA quality in games and how to get the very best out of the team. And I had a friend that was working at Arena and I'd worked with him before at EA and he spoke to Mo, who's our studio head, and said, you know, you should talk to this guy. And so Mo watched a presentation I did for VFS, got on the phone with me. We chatted for about 2 hours. Then we had another chat. And then you know, the timing wasn't quite right. And then the timing got right. And I came out to visit the studio and that was kind of that. But you're right, going from, you know, creative direction and design direction to the producer role was, I guess, Mo's call. He could see, I assume you'd have to ask him in the interviews that I was the right guy at the time to basically help the team land the game, that my background and experience had everything or some parts of what he needed and what the team needed. And so he could see that. And so he kind of had to convince me that it would, you know, it would end up being good. And that's what happened. And I really haven't looked back.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I never thought I'd get, you know, like I said, I would cycle home or drive home at the end of every day, working on the games that I loved in the past. But my passion was online worlds and my friends in online worlds. And I never thought I'd get the opportunity because, you know, you do get pigeonholed in this business. And you know, the leadership group and the team here were kind enough to, you know, kind of with open arms, see that I had potential in this space, and we went from that.
Yeah, that's amazing just for me to hear, because I just recently got involved in my first QA job for an IT services company, and I'm closing in on like 8 months now, and so that had to be something that Mo saw and that other people saw. You just kept going up and up and up, always looking ahead, and so
sorry, carry on.
It's just proof that you can start at the bottom of the ladder and work your way up. It takes time, but you can get there and you can chase your dreams. And I just love hearing that.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, we don't really see QAs as the bottom of the ladder, but I could see why you know, it's certainly from outside the industry that might be seen as the case. You know, we've got long time, very experienced QA technicians in our company who, for them, you know, it's a vocation. And for me, it wasn't that I wanted to get to the point where I was kind of getting higher and higher up. What I wanted to do was get to the point where I could affect more positive change for the team predominantly, and then the community following on from that, you know, and to make a great game. And so with each kind of mountain or hill that you climb as you go through learning how to be a game developer, new opportunities you know, are made, present themselves, and it's your choice. You get, you know, you often come to a fork in the road as to, you know, how you want to continue with your career. And the further I got into it, the more I wanted to basically do my best to affect change for the team and the community. And so I kind of moved more into a position where I could ensure that teams were given the time to really produce great quality work, that they had a good quality of life, and that they were really enjoying what they were doing. There are definitely times where I miss kind of being more hands-on with decision-making around precise or, you know, more micro pieces of content and that kind of thing. But I'm very happy to come into work every day and see a happy team and see them make a great game and be happy while they're doing it.
You talk about you just come in and kind of manage the people and the practices, the processes. I know for my company we use agile development. I know you guys are the fastest agile crazy I've ever seen.
Yeah, I did not think what you guys were going to do with the
insane.
2-week thing was possible. I looked at that, I was like, okay, I've done some coding. I've looked at how people do game development. This is not possible. So
check this out. Check this out. I was in Starbucks this morning. This is a true story. And there's this kid behind the counter, and he's looking at me, and the place is pretty full. And it's not that loud. And he basically looks at me and he sees my T-shirt, and he goes, "You're the guys that deliver content every 2 weeks." I was like, I shouted back and said, "Hey, you should come and work for us in marketing."
Nice.
Like, well, you know, and we started talking about games, and he was talking about League of Legends. He's just started playing Guild Wars and how much he loves the updates and so on. So, you know, that was pretty cool. But it was very unexpected. And everyone else in Starbucks is kind of looking over going, content every 2 weeks? You know, what are they talking about?
What are they talking?
So what does a typical...
Yeah,
go ahead.
So we have a production department. So I came in and worked in the production group and managed that, and then had the opportunity to move into the design group and manage that group. And that's actually my background is design, obviously. And so I took the opportunity because it's something that I'm probably better trained in and more valuable to the company for. So I went that route. And we have a fabulous production team, really, really good. You know, our development director is Kristen Borneman. She's been doing a great job with Colin, who's our game director, and Gavin is our head of production. And they've just been working with the technology groups and the teams to allow us to basically put out content like this. I mean, it's not easy, and we're still working very hard in terms of increasing the quality and maintaining the velocity of deployment. And I think we're starting to really hit our stride. And so what I do is, ultimately I'm responsible for the design quality of everything that we put out of the studio, but it isn't my job to basically design everything that we do. It's my job to give the designers the tools that they need and guide them and act almost like a consultant to them when they need my help to help guide them and give my commentary in regard to whether I think a particular part of an event is good and what could be done to make it better, and so on. And then there's also working with the studio directors, the strategic level of running the studio as a group, ensuring that we have a really path to success moving forward and really exciting conversations about the future. And one of those has kind of happened today, which was a conversation a long time ago, which is the launch of China. So it's an extra special day for everyone here in regard to actually seeing this happen and the birth of ArenaNet's global community. It's just awesome.
So as a studio design director every day, you're kind of the one who's set the processes that everyone works through. You come in, offer a little consulting on the bits of content that they build, and maybe even like how they code a specific segment or such.
No.
No.
Basically, so what I do is I help cultivate design best working practices and creative best working practices for the team. So it's more kind of creative based. So things like how we go from concept to completion and how we iterate during those phases is a piece of process. The engineers and the producers and the artists and QA, they have their own kind of micro processes, and then we have global processes that we all use together. So on a day-to-day basis, really the processes are kind of already there. So we spend a lot of time looking at each other's work, and I look at the team's work. And then there's also a lot of time spent talking about work that is just starting or hasn't started yet, as sure you can imagine with the cadence and the velocity of which we deploy. And so every day is comprised of work discussion around the live environment, things that are going on in the game minute to minute, work that is basically content that is about to go out and content that won't be coming out for a while. So it depends on a day-to-day basis and on the meetings that we have booked on those days as to what exactly gets done. But each each section, or each different part of the company, like engineering, production, marketing, brand, art, they all have their aligned processes and best working practices that they use. It's my job to ensure that the design team is happy, and that from a design standpoint, the game is of the highest quality that it can be.
So
it's a lot to take in a short.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll try and break it down real.
All right,
easy.
Let's see if you got it, Mal.
The role that Chris would partake at the company I work for is practice manager. You're overseeing all the global practices of the company that everyone has to then fit their individual practices and processes under.
Has he got it yet? No.
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 All right, I give up.
Let's look at this then. Let's look at it from this point of view. Let's think of a car analogy.
Yes, I love car analogies.
The one we're all aware of.
They're amazing.
I only ever use car analogies. So basically, I'm essentially the customer for the group that's building the car, and we work together to spec out what the car is, and then basically the team builds it, and I give them my support and tell them how I think it's going, how I think it's doing from a design standpoint. And then we iterate on it to make sure it handles really well and that we win races. How about that?
Okay, got it.
Love car analogies. Those are amazing. Something that is nowhere near... I would actually like to see you try and make this next question into a car analogy. What is your favorite profession or main profession in Guild Wars 2?
Or which one do you play the most?
I like driving trucks, so my favorite profession is a warrior. There you go.
Nice work.
My favorite profession, at the moment, I'm learning to play a mesmer, but my main is a warrior, and he is shout heal spec.
Nice.
34,000 hit points, and all the good heals and all that kind of thing. And he's my favorite at the moment. He's got a
what
nice
gear is he spec with? Like, what's his...
soldier's gear and runes of the Doliac. He's got all his trinkets are ascended, one ascended weapon. I haven't had the time to get full ascended gear yet. But
it's like you were trying to launch a game in China.
And amongst other things.
Yeah. Lots of things to do.
Well, that's really cool.
Cool. So you've also been working on a mesmer as well?
Yeah, on the Guild Wars 2 China, I have a level 11 mesmer, which is fresh today, and I've been learning to play her, which is the first time I've actually played with a female avatar in an MMO, so I'm still getting used to that. It's all a bit weird.
That'll be cool, playing up like a fresh class, fresh experience, fresh world, and everyone coming in is new. That's going to be fun.
Well, that's right. I really wanted to pick a class that I know isn't the easiest to, it's a cool class, but it requires skill. And obviously I've had a lot of practice with the warrior, so I really wanted to basically go in with a class that I could, at least to a certain extent, be at the same level as other players in the world, so I could really get a feeling for how they were going through the content, how we were sharing the content together, and really look through Guild Wars 2 afresh again through their eyes, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just going in and owning everything with my elite warrior.
Crazy sword, all the things.
Yeah, chainsword for the win.
Nice. All right, one more before we get to the specific content stuff. Yeah. So as Chris Whiteside, the guy, not Chris Whiteside, the dev, what's the type of content that you play the most, whether it be in Guild Wars 2 or other MMOs of the past? Are you a raiding guy? Are you a PvP guy?
I am a raiding guy.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I love playing with other players to defeat challenging content. I love the social elements that has, over TeamSpeak and chat and so on. I love discovering not just new aspects of the world through completely challenging content, but discovering the psychology of play, of how people react to challenging content and how they work together, and really seeing what makes people tick. Going back to the first question about, or the second question about what I do on a day-to-day basis. Really, what I do is I'm a problem solver. That's my job. I'm really good at problem solving, and I love working with teams and helping them to solve their problems. So it makes sense that my favorite style of gameplay is problem solving in a team environment. So if anything, actually, playing games like EverQuest at the highest level of raid content and World of Warcraft as well, it certainly impacted my ability to work well and understand the psychology of how people work together and how to get the very best out of people. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's totally true. For every hour that I've been in an online game in that kind of environment, it's certainly helped me in terms of my career as a developer in online worlds. That's really, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I have to agree. It was actually through my experience with MMOs that I was able to apply for the QA job that I eventually got to pretty much work at. And that's because I developed so many problem-solving skills through leading raids and such like that. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really glad you landed that gig. It's any chance to get into this. I mean, for me, before I got into games, I thought that this is back in the day with black and white television, because obviously I'm that old. I didn't realize that people made games. I thought they just appeared. They just manifested themselves. You know what I mean?
There's a wizard out there. He had a wand. Things happened.
Yeah, and then games magazines started coming out, and foolishly, the games magazines would publish the addresses of games companies to send your feedback. It's not foolish, but
oh my.
I'm sure I upset a lot of people with my stupid designs. It was then that I realized, hey, the real people make games. And at that point, I thought, well, there's no chance, but at least it keeps me off the streets, the harsh streets of the UK, to sit there, drawing with crayons on the A3 sheets of paper. If you're driven and you're passionate and you're vocational and you care about those around you and you care about the community, especially online communities, then, it's really, the world really is your oyster. As long as you've got the drive and you're vocational, you just keep moving forward and trying to do better and better. And, you never reach a plateau. You just have to keep working, and it's just awesome.
Cool. Well, speaking of moving forward, we're actually going to move back as we move forward. Thank you. They tell me that it ruins the segue when someone mentions it or calls it out right in the middle, but I think it actually enhances the entire segue experience.
It's better for audio. It's better for audio.
Probably. So let's talk a little bit about Living Season Season 1, which finished a month and a half ago, March. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a little while ago. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Clint, I think you've got the first question.
I feel like I've gotten a lot recently. You can take it if you want.
Oh, okay, fine. All right, I'm taking the question. Woo! I'm so excited about this. So, as you guys were doing the Living Story, there was a lot of... It rolled out over a very long time, and you had some just crazy rapid updates, but did the plot ever significantly change, or even just change little bits from the original concept due to community response from patch to patch, or sort of was it like that 4-month lead time where that was where we could see like community influence, or how'd that work out as you guys were going through?
So big plot changes would only be able to occur with the 4-month lead. More micro level increase in, say, writing acumen or exposition of writing can happen at a much higher velocity, just to kind of give a little bit of understanding before answering the question. So in terms of were there any major plot changes based on community response, no, there weren't. That said, we did, and we do, and we will continue to look at what the community is saying and listen and play in game with them and discuss how we think the plot is being perceived, and therefore changes do come from that. There were certainly some pretty big changes in terms of exposition based on feedback that we got in regard to the Living World storyline of season 1, and that became more prominent to the community, I think, or more obvious the closer to the end. Certainly in 2014, yeah, to the beginning of 2014. Sorry, in the end of 2013.
Cool. Which Living Story patch from Living World patch?
Which one got the best reception, whether it be through forums or activity? And what lessons did you learn from, like, hey, this is something we can do again, this is definitely hot?
Well, I think that a lot of the events, because, we were really getting on our feet and starting to run, a lot of the events had certain things that large portions of the community really liked. And we learned from those, and certainly we'll be moving forward with those learnings. But in terms of, a holistic knocking out of the park, Kite City was an example of one. The Marionette was another. Escape from LA were all, really well received. And we really enjoyed making them. We had a lot of iteration time on those particular events, but overall, I think different people like different aspects of them, and we want to make sure. I'll tell you one thing that we did learn. We did learn, certainly with Kite City, that we can add. It's okay for us to experiment with different types of gameplay, and people obviously really loved going around and finding the crystals and that gameplay, and so that was something that we learned from that particular event.
Yeah, I mean, Kite City, Zephyr Sanctum, I suppose that's what you're referring to.
Yes, Zephyr Sanctum. Sorry, I'm using in development.
Internal names.
Yeah, I shouldn't use that, should I? Zephyr Sanctum, yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Descent into Madness. I mean, one thing that we learned from Descent into Madness which was really good, which was the Marionette event, was the importance of a sense of discovery. And that was coupled with the need for us to do better exposition around Scarlet. Like, we knew what Scarlet was like. We know why we cared about her as a character, but we needed to do a better job of exposition. So, Mo, who's our studio head, was talking about, well, why don't we put a layer in that that's her private place where the player can go in and learn more about her. And I ended up writing the journal for that. And we really got to expose another side to her, which we should have really, got in earlier about her. But I think the timing was still pretty good. So
it worked out. The lair was entirely Mo's idea.
It was his idea to basically add an extra sense of discovery to the world around that event. Yeah.
Sweet, that's awesome.
The lair was very cool.
Yeah.
Just thumbs up on that one. That thing was exciting.
Moving from the
every now and then, every now and again, he knocks it out of the park with some good ideas. I'm joking. Yeah.
He better be being the president CEO. Yeah. You gotta come out with the big guns firing.
Yep.
All right, so kind of going along with the lair. Season 1 started off slow with just kind of the hints and the bits with the flame and frost and such, but then it picked up when we started to get to the lair and the increased exposition. What one thing would you have done differently for season 1 to either like enhance the release or bring out more of the story now that you look back and have all this hindsight from what happened before?
Well, you answered the question. We would have done a better a better job of exposing the storyline and through the writing right from the outset. I think the pacing wasn't too bad, but I think that there needed to be more character exposition. There needed to be, in order to really care about the characters, it would have been better for us to have known more about them initially and put them in situations that, really help the players to understand where they come from. And I think that if we could look back, we would do that.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's the fact that everyone was still learning, everyone was still adapting. That's what's got me looking forward to season 2 more than anything. Now that the base is set, the foundation is set, all the teams and such are set, and I'm interested to see where that goes. But we'll get on to that.
We will. But first, more questions. With the Living Store or Living World, with that, you guys were able to tell a pretty cool story across the board. But some people miss things. Like, for example, I was out in the middle of on a mountain during the first Karka invasion, so I couldn't be there to see the lighthouse get knocked down, and I was like, well, I was out in the wilderness. It was fun. But do you guys have plans to allow us to relive or retell key moments or various events from the living world, so that we can remember it? And do you guys have any sort of way that you would roll that out beyond, for example, the Atlas is one way, I suppose?
I think that's a cool idea and something I'll continue to think about.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry for the short answer.
That's okay. I figure you get that sort of question. It's like, that one could go either way.
We figure some of these will be shorter answers, but if we don't put them in, then the fans will scream.
It's true.
Certainly, I can appreciate the dilemma, and I totally understand that. I think it would be a great thing to do, and that's something that I'll discuss with the team.
Cool.
All right, thank you, sir.
Speaking of long answers and short answers, you have been posting some incredibly long and actually really good answers and commentary and discussing with players in the collaborative development initiative on the forums. And so you've spearheaded that, and what sorts of effects has that had any effects on the immediate living story or in development in general from what we've seen? And do you have any examples you could give of that?
Well, yeah, first of all, I want to apologize because there hasn't been a CDI, for 3 months, 2 months now?
I've missed going there and checking the forums and being like, oh, what did Chris say today?
I am going to fire up another one. It's just that we have been so utterly busy that, like I always say in the CDI, if the team doesn't have the time to respond, then all we're doing is lip service, and you get the occasional person just saying it's marketing. And now I want to say, for the record, I am not a marketeer. So you'll know that that is not my job. And so, we would be marketeers if we just did it because, well, I don't know, for crazy reasons of like somehow, making people think that we care when we already, it's clear how much we care already. There's no need to do that through the CDI. So we'll basically be doing that, and I'll be putting up another one of those soon. So how much effect has the CDI had? It's had a massive effect. Anyone that plays the game a lot and has seen it evolve will see little things and big things. One of the most obvious examples in terms of big areas was members of the community CDI group talking about it can be disparate for an event to occur and then for there to be a feature release, and then as part of the same season another event comes out and you lose what was going on and you lose the kind of taste of the theme and so on. Obviously that's changed. That's in part to do with the CDI. There was a massive Living World CDI around writing and storyline, and 3 weeks to 3 months later, you could see that there was more exposition in the storyline and more kind of synergy between gameplay and writing. That was to do with CDI. There's, we've made changes in a wide variety of areas. Some are so minute or so hidden in the minutiae of the detail, and affect the meta or balance and so on that they're hard to call out. But the CDI has affected the game in a positive manner in a great way, and I want to thank the members of the CDI community for really helping us in that. I know it's difficult because I set the paradigm of I'm not going to talk about what we're working on, and I'm not going to talk about what we're working on. But I think the longer the CDI goes on for, and it impacting the game, I think that level of trust will increase. So thanks to everyone for being so patient with me in regard to that, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it and doing the next one. And then yeah.
Okay. Are there any plans to kind of improve the format of the CDI or enhance it? Because right now, unless you can just go through the red posts, or you pretty much keep your eyes glued on that one forum topic, it's hard to parse out the information, but between devs and players.
I agree. I mean, one of the good things is that you actually get to see the flow of the brainstorming if you take the time to read all the pages. But some of the CDI threads were I don't know, 70 pages long. I think the Living World storyline was, and had 70,000 views or 70 to 100,000 views on it. And, you know, I do take the time to go through it. And that is one of the good things, because you get to see the flow of the problem solving. You get to see the flow of the brainstorming. You get to understand that this particular member of the community cares very much about this particular area, and that he's probably a good person to, you know, dig deeper into some of his thoughts, processes, and thoughts in regard to how things should change or where things aren't quite working. So that's very important. I wouldn't want us to ever lose that. But to the same extent, the wider the net you cast, the more fish you catch. So the analogy is, the more people that get involved in a problem-solving or brainstorming exercise, the likelihood, the velocity at which you're going to solve the problem, the likelihood is it will be greater. And that's the issue we have, is that the barrier to entry on the CDI is, if you see that it's on page 52, you're not, you know, you might read the 3 pages previous to that and post a comment that and I don't mean to be rude by this, but really isn't kind of aligned or not aligned. It isn't really relevant to the flow of the conversation at that time. And so those people kind of feel like they're being left out, and then they don't come back, and that's a shame. So yes, I would like to see CDI become more accessible, and more people to get involved in it, and not feel like it's some kind of elite club or brick wall, and or, you know, I mean, the worst thing. And this is a personal thing for me that bothers me, but you know, the idea that it might be some kind of marketing exercise, because they haven't had the time. It's not their fault. The way that you know, the way that it works, they haven't had the time to basically read 52 pages to see just how much people have contributed and how the flow of the discussion has gone. So absolutely, we have been talking about ways to improve the forums, specifically in the CDI, with China and everything, and other stuff that we've been working on. We haven't had that conversation for, I don't know, about a month, but we'll be having that conversation again soon. Yeah, I mean, the CDI is massively important to us. The design team and other you know, I manage the design team, so I can say to the designers, you know, take the time to read it. But other departments, they also read the CDI. You know, any area of interest, they get in and they post, and they read it too. So the sheer fact that members of staff are reading people's opinion and getting involved in the conversation is more than enough in terms of how valuable it is to the game. Never mind going that extra bit, which is ultimately my dream with it, that you know, together as a you know, we problem solve and evolve in a much more accessible manner, to the point where, you know, I think I discussed this in the last CDI, with people saying, oh, you know, it's unfair that I comment on some people's comments and not on others. Ideally for me, I would like to be able to take away the dev moniker on the actual thread when I post, and just be a member of the CDI and discuss the game with everyone else as a player.
To kind of get this element where the CDI would maybe group popular opinions together, or group related opinions together. That way you or any other dev wouldn't have to reply to a person individual. You can say, like, we like this entire set of ideas that's being talked about. Might it be better to structure it in the form of a message board where you can +1 or like a particular post, and then if that gets enough likes, now it's at the top of the page, and then discussion can drive based upon almost like Reddit.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The problem with that is that many times, you know, the analogy of diamonds in the rough, many times someone will put a comment up or put an opinion across that isn't at that time popular with the community on that particular CDI. And so if we go to a system like that, then and we only read the most popular comments, then we're not going to be basically drilling into commentary or problem solving that could end up being really important for the game. So it's a real catch-22 situation. It's really important to, you know, I draw a line, and this is a slightly different area. I'll draw a line. If I start reading a sentence that's disrespectful to the team, I just won't read anything else after that, because I love this team, I love this game, and I love our community, and I'm not going to waste my time reading something that the person who's writing it doesn't have the decency to basically be I don't know what would the word be, collaborative, but someone that has a commentary that is harsh, but and maybe not necessarily the opinion of the majority of the people who are currently contributing to the CDI, should not carry less weight than what the popular theme of that CDI is, because at the end of the day, the CDI is about evolving the game and making the game a better place. And it's also about evolving the design acumen of those that contribute to the CDI. And so sometimes it's worthwhile just taking a post and actually working it through. No idea is a bad idea, and working it through, not only to help educate both sides, but also to take that idea and go, hey, you might actually have a point here. Let's basically take this further and go from there. So it's really difficult. It's a difficult kind of conundrum that I spend a lot of time thinking about, and that we think about a lot.
One thing that we're going to be able to see at some point in the future, we don't have a specific date for it yet, but Living World Season 2. We've got a few questions for you about it. We even have some from the community that I fielded off Twitter. But first of all, we'd like to know, there was a interview recently with Bobby Stein, and he mentioned that the Living World might come in smaller, more compact arcs. And so we're seeing at Relics of War, we're thinking like, will this be like 3-month arcs, 4-month arcs? Can you shed some light on if that's actually what you guys are looking at, or that?
So I'm not sure about the context that Bobby was talking about in regard to that. So
it was the Living World CDI.
Oh, there we go. I pulled it straight off your forums.
Nice try. In regard to season 2, your question about season 2, I can't. That's not something I want to comment on at the moment, I'm afraid.
All right. This section might go pretty quick then.
It might.
Yeah.
But we had to try.
Yeah. So, do you think that? Well, that kind of negates that question. Let's see. So,
well, it could be a yes or no.
That's true. We can go for yes or no. So this may be a very yes or no section here. Will Season 2 be focused entirely on the war with Mordremoth, or will there be side stories for us to go on with the Biconics?
I think we'll continue to develop the stories of our characters moving forward and put them in exciting situations that we can all be part of. And we certainly want to focus a little bit more on the player as a hero as well. So, a bit of a sidestep on the question, but also a little bit of information. So There you go.
We'll take that. We'll take that.
Yes, I will indeed take that. Go ahead and go with the next one.
Yeah, this was something that was discussed with some of the Living World CDI. Would you guys ever consider doing the Living World story instances? As we've been seeing them more and more, we got like the open world content that everyone can play in, but then the instances that develop the story themselves. Would you ever consider running them kind of like personal story, where you have different options and now you can branch off to like a individual path that will eventually get to the end of whatever arc of the season 2, but it's individual, it's yours, it's different?
That's definitely something we would consider.
All right. That's
so for
fine.
example, I want to see like the personality system make it so that Majorie hates me, or something like that.
I know some people that would love to make a branching decision where they helped instead of killed Scarlet.
That's too much of a world shift. That's like, oh, hey, at the end of Mass Effect, we didn't kill the Reapers, or do something to that effect.
I tried, AJ. I tried.
That. You could think about all the different connotations that would have, and debate that, and then get back to me, and we can discuss it.
Oh, will Canuck be back, and will he have a major role?
He kind of disappeared, and like
he's in the prison.
No, he got out.
Oh, he's out? I didn't know this.
We'll have to wait and see.
Oh man! Alrighty. All right, here's another one.
It was Living World Season 1 left several questions unanswered, such as, who is the mysterious Mr. E? I'm still pulling for it being me because my name is Eric and I signed my Twitter handle as -E, but that's a completely self-absorbed question.
I still like to say it's the hero of the people, Evan Nashblade.
So will we start to see some of those questions get answered, or are you going to keep drawing that out so that we get some nice speculation going and building up over the next 12 years?
Wait, no, you just gave him an excuse to sidestep it now. You don't know how this works, Eric.
I think that not specific in regard to your question, but I think it's important to answer questions. That's why we put the questions up, and it's important for the players to work together and with the the iconics to get deeper into the lore and work out what's going on and have amazing adventures in the sense of discoverability, which is nicely segues me to. I'm sure that when people see this, they're going to be like, "Oh, Chris, he hasn't really answered much about Living World." The Living World Season 2 questions. Well, I'm doing that because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, and because of the way that our model works in terms of delivering new, fantastic and mysterious adventures in the world of Tyria and in Guild Wars 2. It kind of goes against that aspect of discoverability and players working together to basically, find new areas and discover new things and so on. So it's just I don't want to ruin anything for anyone by going into details like this. And plus, not everyone's going to see it. So what we're talking about. So it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, that's true. Exploration is a big thing about this game. One of the core elements, as I would see it, and so I can understand the reasoning to just keep it tucked under your arm for a little bit longer.
So, speaking of exploration, just a really off-the-wall question. So, when playing, have you had moments in Guild Wars 2 where, it's hard for any one person to be like, I know everything that's in this game before it launches. Have you ever had, since launch, or even when you were running beta, where you just run across something that you were like, oh, you told
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Terza and some of our designers, Lisa, had built an experience called Font of Rand, which I'm not sure that many players in game will have had the opportunity to actually have played yet. And during development, Mo, myself, and a few other members of staff were invited to basically go and check this piece of content out. And it basically kicks off in a meta event in the open world and ends up taking you through a portal into an open world dungeon underwater through ruins of an old kind of temple, doing crazy cool puzzles with bubbles, and then eventually taking out the boss at the end. That was an amazing moment, and that really, that's something that we certainly want to rebuild and evolve as we move forward. So that really was one of those kind of wow moments of, this is amazing. It's just, I wonder how many players have actually been and done the Font of Rand. And if they haven't, then everyone watching or listening to this should, who knows how to do it, should go and organize and take their friends and other players and show them what that piece of content is and how much fun it is, and not spoil the puzzle mechanics for them.
So hard not to spoil the puzzle mechanics. You just want to get everything easy. But no, it's fun. I do like that puzzle.
Well, seeing how you're level 12 in China, you ain't got much longer before you can see them all to the Font of Rand.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's not exactly the easiest piece of content. So it'll be interesting to sit there and see how long it takes folks to work out what to do. That said, there are other media outlets that have guides to it, so hopefully they won't look at those and they'll try and do it by themselves. Other things, Crystal, who works on our legendary boss encounters, she led the building of Tequatl. Playing that, I know, none of us, I don't know how well known this is, but we didn't kill Tequatl before Tequatl went live internally. That's not how we do our reviews or our balance testing. We don't need to kill it to know how well balanced it is, which is interesting. And maybe one day we can do a podcast about that, and I can explain how that works. But I think the first time I killed that with my guild, big shout out to Arm on TC. That was an amazing experience as well. And then following on from that, watching them use different different strategies that we hadn't thought of internally to take him down faster, and that was great. So there are moments like that all over the place. I mean, ArenaNet as well, playing that live was unbelievably good. I really enjoyed the Tower of Nightmares and the open world dungeon. I mean, that's the first time that's been, I think it was, close on 100-man open world dungeon, the first time that's been done in a very long time, and that was great. I miss the living world immensely. I love the feature patch, and I'm enjoying playing that, but I miss the living world, and I can't wait for it to start up again. I really am addicted to it, so assuming it is going to start up again, I'm not giving any spoilers away here.
Speaking of the feature patch, so you guys,
Go ahead.
you guys have been suggesting that this feature patch is going to come out basically. It sounds like you're planning on living story content feature patch. Is that definitely what you guys are going to be doing moving forward, where you're going to take like a specific time? I've heard that on the forums and a few other places. Is that like you're going forward, or?
Yeah, so Living World Pack, the feature packs will basically appear in between seasons. That is correct.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, that's going to round out all the questions that we had. In closing, is there anything in particular, any like tidbits or anything that you want to just share with the Guild Wars 2 community?
I want to say just thank you so much for all of your support. The team loves you, loves the community, and we can't wait to get out the next part of our story. We're all very excited. We're really excited about a global community, Guild Wars global community. That's awesome. And the impact that that's going to have on the game. I'm super excited about that, and can't wait to go into my back to my desk, which is just through that wall there, and start playing again. And it's been an amazing experience on Guild Wars 2 so far, and there's a heck of a lot more to come. And I'm very excited, and keep telling us what you think, and we'll keep working to make this the very best online world that it can be, and to continue to create magic moments like we were talking about, that not just are fun to play but inspire people in their everyday lives, and that's what we're all about. So keep us on straight and narrow, and we'll keep delivering great content to you all.
All right, great. Thank you, Chris. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for just opening up to us about the studio and its processes and different lessons that you guys have learned. And we'll wait for season 2, I guess.
All right,
Thank you for spending the time with us. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For all of those listening, I'm Eric, and this has been me and Melchior and Chris Whiteside, Studio Design Director at ArenaNet.
Relics of
Everybody.
War, signing off.
Bye.
All right. And we are live. Welcome to a special interview of Relics of Ore. Today I am joined by my friendly co-host Melchior Devenholm. How are you today, Mel?
Doing good, man. I'm so excited.
And I'm also joined by Studio Design Director from ArenaNet, Chris Whiteside. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me and us. Very excited, we're launching in China, so it's been an exciting day for all of us. Lots going on.
Cool. So, with China releasing, we have a really easy question for you to start out with. And I know that people in the chat room are super excited about this. I was told that you guys are actually going to be announcing the upcoming Cantha expansion pack. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah.
No, we're actually not live, by the way. Before you freak out, they told us that we could run a joke at you. That was a wonderful expression.
Joke question.
Yeah.
That was a joke question.
Yeah.
I am not expecting to see
Don't worry
siege
about
turtles
it
yet.
at all.
It's still alive.